The desert was wide and silent. Only the wind moved across the endless sea of sand. Under the burning sun, Rami stood with his small team near the ruins of an old temple. He had dreamed since childhood of uncovering secrets buried beneath the desert. Unlike many who searched for treasures of gold and jewels, Rami was not after wealth. He wanted knowledge. He wanted to know what stories the ancients had left behind. With him were 3 helpers and a young scholar named Lena. The ruins were half broken, their stone walls cracked by time. Carvings of faded figures still showed the image of a pharaoh, wearing a crown shaped like a sun. Many such carvings existed in Egypt, but something about this place felt different. The crown of the pharaoh looked as if it was made of rays pointing upward to the sky. As the team worked, the sand shifted under Rami's feet. He bent down and brushed away loose grains. A faint shine caught his eye. He called Lena to look. Together they pushed aside more sand, and soon the edge of a smooth golden plate appeared. It was not like the usual treasures hidden in tombs. This plate was set into the ground as if it was a door. Strange marks covered its surface. The marks looked like stars, yet their arrangement was unlike any known constellation. The team worked carefully. Hours passed as they cleared more sand until the full shape of the plate revealed itself. It was round like a disc and large enough for 2 people to stand on. At the center of the disc was a small hollow circle. Rami placed his hand inside. The metal was warm, though no sun touched it directly. He felt a vibration travel through his fingers. Lena examined the carvings. She spoke softly, almost to herself. These are not normal hieroglyphs. Some symbols are Egyptian, but others I have never seen before. They are mixed with shapes like stars and lines like paths between them. She looked at Rami with wide eyes. This is a star map. But why would it be here under this ruined temple? Before they could discuss more, a soft sound rose from the disk. It was like a hum from deep within the earth. The golden carvings lit up faintly as if touched by fire from inside. The light was not bright, but enough to paint the sand with a soft glow. The helper stepped back in fear, but Rami stood firm. His heart raced, yet he felt no danger, only wonder. The hum stopped. With a slow movement, the disk shifted. Sand poured away from its edges as it opened downward, revealing a dark passage. A cool breeze rose from the depth, carrying a scent not of earth but of something strange, something metallic and ancient. Rami lowered a lamp into the opening. The light showed steps leading down. He turned to Lena. This is not a tomb. This is something else. She nodded, unable to speak. The team tied ropes and began their descent. The passage walls were smooth and golden, unlike stone tunnels they had seen before. Carvings ran along both sides, glowing faintly as the lamps passed near them. The carvings showed figures not only of men, but of tall beings with long arms and strange crowns. These beings stood beside the pharaoh, pointing at the sky. At last they reached a wide chamber. Rami's breath caught as he looked around. The chamber was shaped like a dome. Its ceiling was covered with stars carved in gold. Some stars shone brighter than others, forming shapes that looked like distant constellations. At the center of the room stood a device made of gold and crystal. It rose like a tower with rings around it, each ring filled with markings. The rings slowly turned even though no one touched them. Lena stepped closer. This is an observatory. It is built to watch the stars. But how could it still move after thousands of years? Rami walked around the device. His hands traced the glowing carvings at its base. The energy pulsing through it was not like any fire or water-driven machine. It seemed alive. He thought of the pharaohs who once ruled with power and mystery. Had one of them truly built this to reach beyond the sky? He turned to his team. We have found something hidden for centuries. This is not just history. This is a story greater than we ever imagined. The pharaoh of this place was not only a ruler of land, but a seeker of stars. Lena's face glowed in the light. She whispered, almost as if gold itself was watching the heavens. Silence filled the chamber. The desert above remained endless and empty, yet beneath it a secret had awakened. Rami felt a chill run through him. He knew their discovery was only the beginning. The hidden pharaoh had left behind not just treasure, but a path that led far beyond the sands of earth. The golden chamber stood silent, yet alive. The rings of the strange device kept turning slowly, as if following a rhythm older than time. Rami felt as if the chamber itself was watching them. His team of helpers whispered nervously, but he kept calm. He wanted to understand, not run away. Lena moved closer to the walls. Her fingers traced the glowing carvings and her eyes searched every symbol. She had studied languages for years, and she knew Egyptian hieroglyphs better than most. Yet here she felt lost. The carvings were partly familiar and partly strange. Some signs were birds, eyes, and suns like she had seen in tombs before. Others looked like circles, spirals, and lines pointing outward. They did not belong to any known human script. She spoke slowly, half to herself and half to Rami. These are not only words. They are maps. Look here. She pointed at a cluster of circles with lines connecting them. This is a star pattern, and here is another. But these are not constellations of our sky. I cannot find them in our charts. Rami leaned closer. If these are stars, then someone drew places we cannot see from Earth. But how could a pharaoh know that thousands of years ago, Lena studied longer? She found a line of text carved beside the star maps. The words spoke of a pharaoh of gold who built this chamber. The message was written in a mix of Egyptian signs and unknown ones. Lena read aloud, slowly shaping each sound. The pharaoh listened to voices from the sky. He built a path of gold to follow them. He gave his crown to the watchers of the heavens. Her voice echoed in the dome. The golden rings above seemed to hum as if they understood her words. The helpers stepped back again, frightened. Rami, however, felt excitement. This was proof of something beyond ordinary history. He asked her, "What do you think it means?" Lena's face showed both wonder and fear. "I think the pharaoh did not build this alone. He had help from someone not of this world. These signs may be their language. It looks like they tried to mix their words with ours so that the pharaoh's people could understand." Rami looked up at the ceiling where golden stars shone. The idea filled his heart with awe. If the pharaoh spoke with beings from the sky, then this chamber was not a tomb but a meeting place. The thought made the air feel heavier, as if the past and present were touching. They decided to copy the carvings carefully. Rami used paper and charcoal to take rubbings of the walls while Lena wrote down symbols. Every mark felt like a step deeper into a mystery. Hours passed as they worked, yet the chamber gave them no rest. The golden device kept turning. At times it released faint sparks of light that floated into the air like dust made of stars. Lena sat down on the stone floor studying the rubbings. She noticed repeating signs near the base of the device. One was the image of a crown with rays pointing upward. Another was a hand holding a star. She realized these were not only words but also instructions. She stood quickly and turned to Rami. "This is a guide. The pharaoh left a message for those who come after him. It says the device will speak when the crown of gold touches the star." Rami frowned. A crown of gold. He thought of the pharaoh in the carvings, always shone with a strange crown. Could it be hidden somewhere in the chamber? They searched together. At the far end of the dome, behind a wall panel, Rami found a small alcove. Inside lay a golden object shaped like a half circle with rays pointing outward. It was not large but heavy, carved with the same strange symbols as the walls. Lena held her breath. This is the crown, not for a head but for the device. They carried it to the base of the machine. There was a hollow space shaped perfectly to fit the crown. When Rami placed it inside, the rings of the observatory began to move faster. Light spread across the chamber, filling every carving with glow. The stars on the ceiling burned brighter until the dome looked like the night sky itself. The team gasped. Lena covered her mouth in awe. The chamber was no longer just stone and gold. It had become alive, as if the pharaoh himself had opened a window to the heavens. Slowly, symbols appeared in the air above the device. They floated like writing made of fire. Lena studied them with care. She could not read them fully, but she understood enough. The words spoke of a gathering. They told of watchers who promised to return when the crown was lifted again. Rami's voice trembled. "Does this mean we have called them back?" Lena nodded slowly. Her eyes shone with both fear and wonder. "Yes." The pharaoh's observatory was built not only to watch the stars but also to speak with them. And now, after so many ages, we may have awakened that call once more. The chamber fell quiet again, yet the air was heavy with meaning. Above them, the golden stars on the dome did not fade. They kept shining, waiting. Rami knew their journey had just begun. What had once been buried as history was now alive, and soon the sky might answer. The desert night was quiet. The stars above shone like diamonds scattered on black velvet. Around the ruins, the air was cool and still, but inside the hidden chamber, the air was alive. The golden device continued to move, its rings spinning with steady rhythm. The crown of gold glowed faintly where Rami had placed it. Rami and Lena stayed near the device while the helpers waited nervously at the entrance of the tunnel. They whispered among themselves, afraid of what they had seen, but Rami's eyes were filled with light. He could not turn away. He felt as if history itself was unfolding before him. Lena studied the glowing symbols that floated in the air above the machine. They changed slowly, rearranging into patterns of stars. She wrote down what she could, though many signs were beyond her understanding. She spoke softly to Rami. "These are coordinates. They are pointing to a place far away from Earth. Look, this group here is not any constellation in our sky. It must be a star system we cannot see with the naked eye." Rami nodded. His heart pounded with excitement. Then he asked in a low voice, "If this is a signal, do you think someone is listening?" Lena looked up at the moving rings. She did not answer right away. Instead, she touched one of the glowing lines. The light rippled, sending a soft hum through the chamber. She finally said, "I think this is not only a map, it is a message. And if it is active now, then yes, someone may already be listening." The thought filled the room with heavy silence. The helpers grew restless. One of them whispered loudly that they should leave before curses fall upon them. Rami shook his head. "This is no curse. This is knowledge, a gift left for us." But his voice, though steady, could not hide the unease growing in his chest. As the night deepened, the device grew brighter. A thin beam of golden light shot upward from its crown, piercing the dome ceiling as if the stone was no barrier. Outside, in the desert, the beam rose into the sky straight and sharp, stretching far beyond sight. The sand glowed faintly under its touch. The helpers fell to their knees in fear, shielding their eyes. Lena stood frozen, staring at the sky. Rami whispered, "The Pharaoh built this to speak with the stars. Tonight we have called them." Far above Earth, satellites belonging to modern nations captured the sudden burst of light. Screens in distant cities lit up with strange readings. Scientists stared in confusion, asking each other what new object was shining from the desert. But in the hidden chamber, Rami and Lena knew the truth. The old Pharaoh's observatory had awakened. Minutes passed. Then the symbols in the air shifted again. The glowing lines twisted and formed moving pictures. The pictures showed not only stars but whole worlds. Great blue oceans, tall mountains under twin suns, glowing forests, and endless skies appeared before their eyes. They were not like Earth's lands, but strange and beautiful places that no human had ever seen. Lena covered her mouth in awe. "These are not dreams. These are real worlds. The device is showing us what lies far beyond." Rami felt his chest tighten. The carvings, the maps, the crown, everything pointed to one truth. The Pharaoh had not imagined this. He had known of it. Somehow, long ago, he had touched knowledge that came from beyond Earth. The pictures faded. New symbols appeared. Lena struggled to read them. Her voice trembled. "They say the Watchers are near. They say the call has been received." The chamber fell silent again, but it was not the silence of emptiness. It was the silence of expectation. Rami looked at Lena. Her face was pale, but her eyes shone bright. "If the Watchers return," he asked softly, "what will they think of us now?" Lena lowered her head. They came once before and shared knowledge, yet they left. Perhaps they saw something they did not like. Perhaps they thought we were not ready. Rami placed a hand on the golden device. The metal was warm, almost like skin. He whispered, "Then we must be ready this time. We cannot hide. Humanity must face what is coming." Outside, the desert wind began to rise. The beam of light still cut the night sky, steady and unbroken. In the distance, even the stars seemed to flicker as if they were answering. The helpers begged to leave, but Rami ordered them to stay. He said they would witness history, and leaving now would mean walking away from the greatest discovery of their time. Reluctantly, they obeyed. As dawn neared, the beam faded slowly. The rings of the device slowed, though they did not stop. The golden crown still glowed faintly, as if waiting for the next step. Lena leaned against the wall, exhausted. She said softly, "We have crossed a line. Whatever happens next, Earth will not be the same." Rami looked up at the dome where golden stars still shone. He felt the weight of her words. The Pharaoh of gold had once dared to call across the heavens, and now Rami had done the same. Far above them, unseen by human eyes, something stirred in answer. The desert sun rose slowly over the dunes, painting the sky in red and gold. The ruins looked the same as always, broken stones resting in silence, but beneath them the hidden chamber hummed with quiet power. The golden device no longer sent its beam into the heavens, yet its ring still turned. The crown at its center glowed faintly, like a heart still beating. Rami had not slept. His mind was restless with questions. If the Watchers had heard the call, then how soon would they arrive? Were they near already? Or would centuries pass before they returned? He stared at the ceiling where golden stars still shone and wondered what those ancient guests had once seen in humanity. Lena sat by the carvings, studying the rubbings she had taken. Her hands moved quickly over her notes, comparing symbols, drawing lines between them, searching for more meaning. The signs kept speaking of a return, she whispered to herself. They promised to come again. They promised when the crown touched the star they would answer. The helpers wanted to leave. Fear had settled in their hearts. They told Rami that no treasure was worth calling down powers from the sky. But Rami did not bend. He said firmly, "This is not a curse and not a danger. This is the greatest discovery of our time. If they return, it is not to destroy us, but to finish what they began with the Pharaoh." That day passed in tense waiting. Rami and Lena worked, while the others kept glancing at the tunnel entrance as if expecting shadows to appear. The air inside the chamber grew heavier, as if the walls themselves knew that something was approaching. At night, when the desert cooled, the stars above shone unusually bright. Even the helpers noticed and grew silent. On the second night, the change came. The golden device began to move faster, its ring spinning with energy. Sparks of light rose from its center and floated into the dome. The air trembled with a low sound like distant thunder, though no storm filled the sky. Lena clutched Rami's arm. "It is answering. The Watchers have heard." The ground beneath them shook gently. Dust fell from the ceiling of the tunnel. The helpers cried out in fear, but Rami stood firm. His eyes were wide but steady. He whispered, "The Pharaoh's promise is being kept." Outside, in the desert sky, a strange glow appeared among the stars. It was not a star, not a planet, but something moving, growing brighter as it came closer. The glow shifted colors, gold and silver and pale blue, as if woven from light itself. The team rushed to the surface. They stood on the sand dunes, staring upward in awe. The glow became a shape, long and smooth, gliding silently across the heavens. It was larger than any plane, yet it made no sound. Its surface shimmered like polished metal mixed with flowing water. Lena whispered, "That is no dream. That is no human machine." The craft slowed, lowering toward the ruins. As it descended, the sand swirled in circles around it, though no wind blew. The light from its surface painted the desert gold, turning night into dawn. The helpers dropped to their knees, covering their heads. Rami and Lena stood side by side, unable to move, their hearts racing. The ship came to rest above the ruins, floating without touching the ground. Then a line of light opened along its side. From within stepped shapes that were not human. The beings were tall, their forms glowing faintly as if light passed through them. They had long arms and crowns of energy above their heads, crowns that matched the carvings in the hidden chamber. Their faces were calm, neither cruel nor kind, but filled with deep watchfulness. They did not speak with mouths. Instead, a harmony of sound flowed through the air, a music that seemed to touch both ears and heart. Rami felt his knees weaken. He understood nothing of the sound, yet at the same time he felt meaning. The Watchers had returned just as the Pharaoh had promised. Lena whispered with trembling voice, "They are here. After thousands of years, they are here again." The leader of the beings stepped forward. The harmony grew louder for a moment, then quiet again. A shining hand lifted and pointed toward the ruins below. It was a sign of recognition, as if the being remembered the place. Rami found his courage. He raised his voice, though it shook. "We are humans. We found the Pharaoh's observatory. We called, and you answered." The harmony rose again, gentle and soft. It was not a threat. It felt like acknowledgement. The beings turned their heads toward the chamber hidden below, then back to Rami and Lena. They seemed to study them, as if weighing their presence. Lena gripped Rami's arm tighter. "I think they are asking a question. Not with words, but with their gaze. They are asking if we are ready." Rami swallowed hard. He thought of the Pharaoh who had built the golden machine, daring to reach the stars. He thought of humanity today, full of both greatness and weakness. He whispered to himself, "We must show them we are more than our past." The ship remained silent, glowing like a sun fallen to earth. The beings stood still, their crowns of light shining against the night. The desert wind grew still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The Watchers had returned. Their eyes, brighter than stars, were fixed upon humanity once more. The night desert glowed in the light of the ship that floated silently above the ruins. Its surface shimmered like living metal, shifting colors between gold and silver. The Watchers stood near the opening, their tall forms shining faintly as if their bodies were made of both matter and light. Crowns of energy circled above their heads, matching the old carvings of the Pharaoh's chamber. Rami felt his breath catch. For all his dreams of discovery, nothing could have prepared him for this. He knew he should speak, yet his voice was lost in awe. Beside him, Lena clutched her notes tightly, her lips moving but no words escaping. The helpers remained kneeling, too afraid to lift their eyes. The leader of the Watchers stepped forward. The being's body shimmered in waves of pale light, and when it lifted its hand, a soft harmony filled the air. The sound was not loud, but it pressed gently on the heart, carrying a meaning beyond words. Lena gasped. She looked at Rami and whispered, "I can feel it. They are not speaking with voices. They are speaking with thought and feeling." Rami closed his eyes for a moment and let the harmony flow through him. He did not hear words, yet he understood something. The Watchers were not angry, not cruel. They were cautious, like teachers returning to a class after many years, unsure what the students had learned. The being lowered its hand, and the harmony faded. Then a beam of golden light shone from the ship, reaching the sand before the ruins. Slowly, the light shaped itself into pictures. First appeared the image of the Pharaoh wearing the golden crown. Beside him stood the Watchers, their crowns glowing the same way. Together, they lifted their hands to the stars. Lena whispered, "They are showing us the past. They came here once before, the pictures changed." Now the Pharaoh's people stood around the observatory, looking up with awe. The Watchers gave them signs, maps of the sky, and knowledge of the seasons. The people learned, built, and grew, but soon the pictures grew darker. Greed and conflict rose among the Pharaoh's people. Crowns of gold turned heavy on their heads, not symbols of wisdom but of power. The Watchers withdrew, their ships rising into the stars. Lena's face was pale. They left because of us. They left because humanity chose greed over learning. Rami felt a weight in his chest. He whispered, "And now they are asking if we have changed." The pictures vanished. The Watchers stood silent, their eyes fixed on Rami and Lena. The harmony rose again, softer this time, almost like a question. Rami stepped forward. His legs shook, but he did not stop. He lifted his hands empty, showing he carried no weapon. His voice trembled but was clear. "We are not the same as before. We make mistakes, but we also dream, we search, we climb higher. We are ready to learn again if you will trust us." For a long moment, the Watchers did not move. Then the leader turned slightly to the others. Their crowns glowed brighter as if they shared thought among themselves. At last the leader lifted its hand again. The harmony deepened and the golden light from the ship changed once more. This time the picture showed not the past but a choice. On one side appeared an image of Earth filled with smoke and shadow, towers broken, seas rising. On the other side, Earth was bright with forests green, waters clear, and people walking among stars. The two images stood side by side, waiting. Lena understood. Her voice shook. "They are asking us to choose. Which path will we take as a people?" The helpers began to murmur. Some whispered that the Watchers should give them treasures, knowledge of machines, power to rule. Others begged to leave, fearing punishment for mistakes of the past. But Rami raised his voice. "No, that is not what they want. They are not here to hand us power. They are here to see if we are ready to rise on our own." The leader of the Watchers lowered its hand. The pictures faded, leaving only the glowing ship above. Silence filled the desert once more. The harmony became softer, almost like a sigh. Lena stood beside Rami, her face calm now. She said, "They will not decide for us. They are only watching." "The choice is ours," Rami nodded slowly. He looked up at the Watchers. "If you stay, we will show you what we can be. If you leave, then remember that there are those among us who still reach for the stars." The Watchers remained still, but their crowns of light shimmered brighter. They gave no clear answer, yet something in the air felt lighter, as if a door had opened between worlds once more. The night passed with the ship hovering above. a silent reminder of the past and a question for the future. Rami knew this was not the end, but the beginning. Humanity had been seen again by the watchers of the heavens. What came next would depend on the choices they made. The dawn came slowly over the desert. The ship of the watchers remained above the ruins, glowing softly in the morning light. Rami and Lena had not slept, their hearts too heavy with questions. The helpers had whispered through the night, some praying, some planning, some simply staring at the sky. As the sun rose, the golden crowns of the watchers glowed brighter. Then, without a sound, a beam of light touched the sand before Rami. It did not burn nor blind, but shaped itself into a circle. Symbols appeared inside, the same as those carved on the stones of the observatory. Lena studied them closely. Her eyes widened. This is not only a message, it is a challenge. They want us to act, not just speak. Rami stepped into the circle. The symbols lit up under his feet. The watchers raised their hands and the ground trembled. From the desert rose a great stone platform, covered with puzzles of light. Moving patterns spread across it like rivers of gold. Lena whispered, "It is a test. They want to see if we can work together, not fight, not take, but share and learn." The first puzzle formed, a set of glowing stones floating in the air, each one marked with a star symbol. When touched, they sang with different tones, forming music. Rami touched one, then another, and the watcher's harmony echoed back. Lena joined him. She touched the stones in order, matching the tones to the sky map carved in her notes. Together they created a melody that blended with the watcher's song. The stones settled into place and the first puzzle faded. The helpers stepped forward. Some were afraid, but others wished to try. The next challenge appeared, a great wheel of sand that turned slowly with pieces missing. When the helpers moved closer, they saw that the missing parts were hidden around the ruins. They scattered, searching. One young helper found a piece but tried to keep it for himself. The wheel refused to move. The watchers' crowns dimmed. Rami called out, "No, you must share. The wheel belongs to all, not one." The young helper hesitated, then gave the piece to another. At once the wheel turned, glowing brighter. The watchers' crowns shone again. Lena's voice shook with wonder. They are testing if we can learn trust, not only knowledge. More challenges followed. A pool of light that showed visions of fear, asking if they would face them. A wall of shifting doors that opened only when several people pushed together. A final step where the crown of the Pharaoh appeared shining, and the watchers waited to see if anyone would seize it. Many of the helpers stared at the crown with wide eyes. They whispered of power, of riches, of glory, but Rami stepped forward first. He bowed his head and said, "The crown is not mine. It is not for any single one of us. It belongs to the wisdom of all." He stepped back, leaving the crown untouched. Lena added softly, "Knowledge is a gift to guide, not a weapon to rule." For a long moment the watchers did not move. Then their crowns of light blazed like the rising sun. The crown of the Pharaoh melted into golden dust, scattering into the air like stars. The harmony rose again, stronger and clearer than before. This time it carried not only caution but warmth, as if approval had been given. The ship above released a wave of golden light that spread across the ruins, lighting every stone, every carving, every hidden chamber. Rami shielded his eyes, then gasped. The carvings had changed. Where once the stones were broken and faded, now they shone with living pictures. Maps of stars stretched across the walls, paths between worlds and signs of how to grow crops, heal the sick, and balance the land with the sky. Lena whispered with awe, "They are giving us memory. They are restoring what was lost." The helpers cheered, but the watchers lifted their hands again. The harmony grew softer, like a warning. The knowledge was given, but the test was not yet complete. Rami understood. He looked at the shining walls, then at the watchers. They will not guide every step. They will only see what we do next. The sun climbed higher. The ship began to rise slowly, as if preparing to leave. The watchers' crowns flickered with final light. One last beam touched the sand, forming words of gold that all could read. Lena read them aloud, her voice trembling. "The path of the stars is open. Walk with wisdom or walk into shadow. The choice is yours." The beam faded. The watchers lifted into the sky, their ship glowing brighter until it vanished into the heavens. The desert was silent once more. Rami stood in the center of the circle, his heart heavy and light at the same time. The test had been passed, but only the first. He turned to Lena. "Now it begins." We must decide what to do with what we have been given. She nodded. Her eyes shone with both fear and hope. Yes, this is not only for us. It is for all people. If we choose well, perhaps the Watchers will return. The desert wind blew gently over the glowing stones of the observatory. Humanity had been tested, and for now it had not failed. But the future was still unwritten, waiting for the choices yet to come. The desert was calm under the morning sun. The ship of the Watchers had vanished beyond the horizon, leaving only a warm glow over the hidden chamber. Rami stood at the entrance, staring at the golden device. Its rings no longer spun on their own, but faint light still shimmered across the carvings on the walls. Lena approached him. She had stayed awake all night, reading the symbols and maps given by the Watchers. Her eyes were wide with awe and hope. Rami turned to her. The Watchers have gone, he said softly, but they have left something behind. Lena nodded. Not a gift of power, she said, but a gift of knowledge, a chance to guide humanity. They stepped into the chamber together. The air felt lighter, filled with promise. The golden device at the center held a new object, a glowing sphere no larger than a child's head, floating above the pedestal. Light spiraled within it, forming stars, worlds, and moving maps. The sphere pulsed gently, as if alive. Rami reached out his hand, hesitant at first. The moment his fingers touched the sphere, he felt a wave of understanding flow through him. He saw ways to travel between stars, how to grow food in barren lands, and how to heal disease. But the sphere also showed choices. Using the knowledge for greed or war brought darkness. Using it with care, courage, and vision brought light. Lena stepped closer. She placed her hand beside Rami's. She whispered, "This is the Pharaoh's legacy. Not gold, not power, but wisdom." The observatory was built to remind humans of what they could become. Rami nodded. The Pharaoh had once reached for the stars, guided by the Watchers. Now it was humanity's turn. But the sphere did not give answers freely. It showed what could happen, and it would only act if humans chose wisely. The helpers gathered around, still cautious, still amazed. One of them asked, "Can we use it to make ourselves rich or strong?" Rami shook his head. The Watchers made it clear, he said. "Knowledge is not for selfish gain. It is a test and a guide. If we fail not only ourselves but the path they have opened." Lena added, "We have a chance to change, to show the Watchers and ourselves that we can rise higher, not just reach but care for what we touch." The golden sphere pulsed brighter, as if approving her words. Its light spread across the chamber, tracing patterns on the walls that had once been dark and faded. Star maps and ancient charts now glowed vividly, showing constellations never seen from Earth, worlds beyond imagination, and paths of learning, unity, and growth. Rami studied the carvings. The Pharaoh's message had always been clear, but the Watchers had added more. Every choice, every step, every thought mattered. Humanity could rise or fall depending on the paths they chose now. Lena stepped closer to him. She whispered, "We must teach others, not only about the stars, but about wisdom, courage, and balance. If we keep this knowledge hidden, it will be lost again. If we share it carelessly, it may harm." Rami nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him, yet he also felt hope. The observatory had awakened something in humanity. Now it was time to awaken the people themselves. The sun climbed higher over the desert. Light spilled over the ruins and the golden chamber. Outside, the sands were quiet, but the air felt alive with possibility. Somewhere far above, the Watchers looked down silently, knowing their test was past for now. The sphere floated between Rami and Lena. It was not a toy, not a tool, but a teacher. They knew they would return to it often, learning, growing, and sharing with others. They would guide humanity step by step toward the stars. Rami turned to the helpers. He spoke firmly but kindly. "This is only the beginning. We have a responsibility to use what we have learned. Together we can make the choice to guide our people wisely. Together we can honor the Pharaoh, the Watchers, and ourselves." The helpers nodded. Some still shook with awe, but all understood the meaning. The observatory, once hidden beneath the sands, was no longer a secret. It was a path open for those who dared to reach for knowledge with care. Lena and Rami stepped back from the sphere. They looked around the chamber one last time. The golden walls glowed softly, the ring still pulsing faintly. The observatory had fulfilled its purpose once more. It had watched, it had guided, and now it had waited for humanity to choose. Rami whispered to Lena, "The stars are no longer far away. They are part of us now." Lena smiled softly. "And we are part of them," she said. The desert wind blew gently, carrying the warmth of the golden light across the ruins. Above, the sky remained bright with the rising sun. The Watchers were gone, but their legacy stayed. Humanity had been seen, tested, and gifted. The path of the stars was open. The choice belonged to them, and the story of the hidden Pharaoh's observatory would guide them for generations to come.